Hey everybody, it's attorney Veronica McClendon, and I want to talk to you today about what really happens when a family is left property when there has been no will or trust put in place. A lot of times we're just not thinking about this. When we own land, we're using the land, we're working the land, we're farming, we're putting the seeds in the ground, we're pulling up the crops, we're tending to the animals, we're taking our products to the market or putting them out there for people to purchase. We're not thinking about the legal aspect of what happens to this beautiful property if I were to die. We have a house. We're living in the house. Our family is coming and visiting us there. We are raising our children. We're cooking meals, keeping the grass cut, the taxes paid, making sure that everything is done to maintain that home in its physical form. But we're not really thinking about the legal side of things. And so I want to talk to you all about the real circumstances that come up when someone dies. They own property, but they don't have a will or a trust in place. I want to talk through some of the logistics that the family has to work through without any clear guidance about how to get the job done. And I want to talk to you about things that you can do to make sure that your family is not left without clear instructions about what to do with your land, what to do with your home, if something were to happen to you and you're not here to be able to tell them exactly what they need to do. So, first, what happens from a legal standpoint when someone dies without a will or trust in place? Well, state law is going to kick in and provide instructions for one, who is going to be the person over the deceased person's estate, which means this is the person who's going to be responsible for taking care of the property, making sure that the different expenses are paid for it, that the property is cared for, and that when the time comes, they're going to be the ones that distributes the property to the survivors of the person who owned the property and who has died. So the state is going to determine who is going to be over your estate. The state is also going to determine how the assets that you leave behind are going to be distributed. Most states have a law of intestate succession, which determines how property is passed from one person to their heirs at law when they die without a will or trust in place. Here in the state of Georgia, your property would be divided between your spouse and your children if you have them. If not, it might be divided between your parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, cousins, depending on what's going on in your life at the time of your death. So think about that from a practical standpoint. Someone dies, they own a house, and they were married and they had three children. Those three children may not have been the biological children of their surviving spouse. So now their surviving spouse who's living in the home is contending with the surviving children who they did not raise, they did not participate in their life growing up. Now they have to figure out how are we going to divide this family home between these individuals. This is a common scenario that I see. Or we see a scenario where a parent dies and all of their children are adults. They don't have a surviving spouse, but now their 100 acres of land is being left to their five children. One lives on the property and has been farming it with the parent. The other one they hadn't heard from since 5 years ago when they had the last cookout, and the other one is, irresponsible, not financially where they need to be, maybe even have a substance abuse issue. And then you got that person who's the super responsible person who, no matter what happens, they're going to fulfill the commitments that they made to mama or daddy. They're going to make sure that property is taken care of. They're going to make sure that their brother or their sister is taken care of, the one who needs a little extra help, who has some financial issues and substance abuse issues. They're going to make sure they're taken care of. They're going to be carrying the burden for the family property, and in many cases, just the family's well being as a whole. I'm saying this because y'all know, y'all have seen it. If y'all haven't seen it in your family or you don't know someone who's dealt with it, just watch Soul Food and just imagine if the family and Soul Food owned land together. Or, even think about Big Mama's house. They didn't even get into the fact that now they inherited Big Mama's house. They just in Big Mama's house and they trying to figure out how they're going to deal with some other issues that they're dealing with. But just imagine if they had to figure out how they were going to deal with the family home, which Soul Food too probably should have dealt with that. What happened to the family home? It's time. So I can't remember who the lawyer sister was, but let's say she want to sell the house, and you got the little boy. He's a little older now. He doesn't want to sell the house. He wants to keep the house. You got all these different things potentially going on. Just imagine that in real life. That's the kind of cases that we deal with on a daily basis here at McClendon Law and Consulting. But getting back on track, all of those issues can come up when someone dies without a will or a trust. And most of us don't want to leave our family in a situation like that. And so, what we need to do, and I'm saying we, I'm just including myself in there because for a long time, I was a lawyer talking about wills and trusts, and I didn't have any kind of estate planning in place myself. I felt really bad and guilty going out there telling y'all need to do this, and I didn't do it. But I'm saying that I understand what it's like to put those decisions off because you got other things going on in life, or perhaps it's something that you feel a little iffy about doing because it makes you think about when you're not here. I get it. But it's so important that if you care about your family, and I know that you do, that you have a will in place, that you consider putting a trust in place. Because a trust is a way for you to avoid probate court if that's important to you and your family. But at the very least, you want to make sure you have a will in place because that's going to allow you to name the person who's going to be over your estate, who's going to handle your estate. That's also going to allow you to provide instructions. So you may know that you don't need to have your land be split between all of your children equally. So you may decide that in your will, I'm going to go ahead and have this property surveyed and subdivide it in my will so that my children know which parcel of land is going to be theirs. You can already put that in writing, or you can say, when I die, I want you to hire a surveyor using the money from my retirement money or my life insurance policy. Hire a surveyor, have them subdivide the property, and give each of you 1/5 or 1/4 or 1/3 of the property. Or I want y'all to sell the house, and if you can't, if somebody wants to keep the house, they get to decide that they want to put an offer in and say I want to buy it from the estate. But we're not going to have anybody living in the house, not paying any rent, not covering the mortgage, not paying their brothers and sisters for what they're not able to get if the house is sold. So we want to provide some instructions for when I die, I want this house to be sold, the money split between my children. If one of you wants to buy it from the estate, you can buy it. And here is a way for you to buy it in a way that perhaps you may not have to pay fair market value, or maybe you do, but you still get a discount because in addition to buying the property, you're also going to receive a portion of the sales proceeds. So just thinking about those types of things, putting them in a legally defensible estate plan, whether it's a will or a trust or some combination of the two. Working with an attorney who's licensed in your state who can help you to put your decisions in writing, put them in a way that's legally defensible, and make sure that you think about the potential issues that could come up that you may not be thinking about. Having a good attorney can help you to think about issues that you may not have ever thought about. So that's what I just wanted to give y'all today. I wanted to talk to you about what happens when someone dies without a will or a trust, the types of decisions that their families happen to make. And I didn't even get into that, but things like how we're going to pay the taxes, who's going to maintain the property, can someone live in the property, do they have to pay rent, how much do they have to pay, are we going to sell it, are we going to lease it? Those are the types of decisions that your family will have to make if you do not have a will or trust in place. But you can make those decisions for them by having a will or trust in place. You can provide them with guidance, with instructions, you can provide them with clarity so they're not having to think through these kinds of things when they're already grieving your loss and they are dealing with new family dynamics because perhaps the patriarch or the matriarch is not there anymore. So they got to kind of readjust the way they operate with each other. These are the types of things that you can take off of your family members' shoulders by creating a will or a trust. My firm, McClendon Law and Consulting, helps people with stuff like this every day. This is what we do day in and day out. If this is something that you would like for us to help your family with, and you either live in the state of Georgia or you own property in the state of Georgia, check out our information in the description below. We'll be happy to help you get started on this process.